He made it a point to let everyone see his face, just to rob a shop with a straight face. Looking at the not-so-great money in the safe, he shoved it all into the chest of the hostage without taking a penny, because he didn't need the money. He just wanted to attract the police here, and normal cops can't. Like this one, he choked before he could open his mouth.
我不喜欢你的声音，叫别人来跟我谈吧。
The commissioner wanted to make a show of himself, but he got hit in the face just the same.
我是重案组总督察黄启啊！
So the men arrogantly pushed the hostage to the rooftop. We had no choice but to wait for senior negotiator Ho to arrive. After a brief understanding of the situation, Inspector Ho found that the robber was not a simple man. On the rooftop, he was close to the hostage and the wall, and guided Officer Ho to stand in front of him. The snipers deployed by the police were useless. Officer Ho asked him what he wanted. He replied,
想跟你玩个72小时的游戏。
As soon as he said that, the robber shot the hostage. Everyone was baffled. The police started to take action immediately, but they didn't expect the robber to take out another detonator. As soon as he let go, the bombs he deployed around the rooftop will instantly explode. Inspector Ho suspected that the bomb was fake. After all, a person who goes to great lengths to play the game, it's unlikely that before the game starts, it's unlikely that he'd choose to die together. But he overestimated his superior's courage. The death-hungry commissioner chose to believe it. The robber just fled the rooftop in full view of everyone, escaped from the rooftop. It was only then that everyone realized the hostage wasn't dead at all. The blood on his body was just paint, and the money that the robbers gave to the hostage. The money that the robbers gave to the hostage was the payment for his cooperation in the play. Not to mention the bomb. It was disguised as a bear cracker box. Faced with such a cunning robber, the commissioner also swore that he can't get away with it. After all, the police had already surrounded the building. But the devil is 1 foot tall, and the road is 10 feet tall. The robber went to the bathroom. He changed into the costume he had prepared in advance, successfully turned into a SDU member. He came to the corner of the corridor, faced with a suspicious police officer. He went up and threw a punch, but the attacked policeman only pretended to faint. The commissioner got it right away. The message that the robbers are in the SDU. The police officers started to take action, but he didn't realize that the robber had joined the police force again. It turns out that the grade A policeman was just a trick within a trick. The purpose is to get him to inform the police, and then when the police focus their attention on the SDU, the plainclothes policeman left calmly. Officer Ho, who is also highly intelligent, realized something was wrong. He realized that this was the robber's diversionary tactic. In order to catch him, he had to anticipate his judgment. So he ran outside the building and looked around. He found a taxi parked by the side of the road. It's as if they've been arranged in advance. So he replaced him with the driver. Soon after, the robbers got in. On the way, the robber noticed something was wrong. He pulled out his gun.
去哪儿？最近的警局。
The robber smiled a little. If you can take me to the police station, you win. Then he rolled down the window and pointed the gun at the passerby. The robber began to close his eyes and prepared to shoot. Considering the safety of the public, Officer Ho was forced to stop the car. When he turned around, the robber had already escaped. The man suddenly sat next to the girl on the bus. The girl was a bit surprised and looked down. There was a black gun underneath the man. The girl didn't dare to speak. The police in front of her were about to come. The man became more aggressive. Maybe he didn't feel like a bad guy. The girl did not reveal it, but chose to cooperate and wait for the police to get on the car. In the face of this then real couple, really two people, the police did not have the slightest suspicion. After bypassing the roundup, the robbers got off at the station. The girl got off at the next stop. They met again. The robber thought the girl was following him. He didn't realize that this was the girl's home. Maybe there's a plan. The two of them always met on this bus, and every time they met a police car on patrol, they seemed to have a tacit understanding. Although sometimes this tacit understanding is too sensitive, but they both knew it. After returning home, exhausted robber sprayed a mouthful of blood on the wall. It turned out that he was already suffering from a terminal illness. He only had 4 weeks left. He wanted to use that time to accomplish something big, and the daytime robbery was just the beginning. At night, the robber disguised himself and met with a gangster. He's a smuggler. He has a sapphire worth over $100 million. He's been asking the robbers to help them find a buyer. The robbers promised to deliver the goods in 2 days, but he sent an email to the police. Inside was a screw. Inspector Ho seems to have a clear picture. He was puzzling over the motive of the robbers, because there are so many jewelry shops in the building. Why did the robber choose to rob a finance company? Why did the robbers choose to rob a finance company that doesn't have much money? Maybe that wasn't the real target. So he went to the finance company at night. Officer Ho found a ventilation duct. The screw he was holding was missing. He was curious and climbed in. He found that the duct led to the transport company next door. There was a camera in the vent, right in front of the door to the transport company's safe room. The robbers were outside the building, watching everything. It turns out, the smuggling syndicate's lair is this transport company. The sapphire is hidden here, and the daytime robbery, all for the purpose of installing this monitor in the air vent. Seeing that Officer Ho has been guided to the designated location, the robbers pressed the remote control and detonated a miniature bomb, hidden in the pipe, though it's not powerful, but powerful enough to alert the criminal gang. Poor Officer Ho was completely exposed. He was hunted down by the criminals. On the run, he received a call from the robbers. Then he realized he was just a tool to divert his attention, and the real show was just beginning. After Officer Ho became the bait, the robbers drove directly into the underground garage. He put on the same car as the boss. He even got the same haircut as the boss. When his men who were carrying the gems arrived at the garage, without even thinking about it, he handed over the jewelry. Wa got the jewelry and drove away. He also guided Officer Ho to escape, but they were still being rounded up by the boss. But I have to say, some people have a natural understanding. They hid in the car with just a glance. Then they took a look at the leaking fuel tank. Without saying a word, they understood each other's thoughts. Wa shot and lit the petrol on the ground, and Officer Ho used a crowbar to hold the throttle of the leaking vehicle, so that it can automatically drive towards the enemy, like a mobile bomb about to be detonated. The men were so scared that they dodged quickly. Wa also took this opportunity to escape from the fire. Coincidentally, the fire was doused by the coke on the ground, just like Wa and Officer Ho. Wa and Inspector Ho had just cultivated a comradeship. It's just a matter of time. Officer Ho threatened Wa with a gun and drove him to the police station to bring him to justice, but Wa remained calm. Revenge is not yet complete. He knows he needs courage to escape this time. He suddenly stepped on the accelerator. At 180 yards, he crashed into a nearby stone pier. Both of them were shaken to the bone. Because Wa had an airbag as a cushion, he was able to stay awake for a while. So in the end he succeeded in taking the jewelry. But the next day, he asked Officer Ho to meet him in person, and discussed a fishing plan with him. How high is Wa's face value? In this scene, where Wa disguises himself as a woman, Lu Qingyun can't help but mooching off her.
小心点啊
But under the relaxed dialogue, still cannot hide the tension around. In this bowling alley, on the one hand, there are plainclothes police officers who have been in ambush for a long time. On the other hand, there are criminal gangs preparing to make illegal transactions, and Wa is pretending to be Inspector Ho's girlfriend. He gave him the jewelry he stole with great difficulty, and asked him to disguise as a seller, to make a deal with the crime boss. As soon as Boss Black takes over the stolen goods, the police can immediately make an arrest, commonly known as fishing for law enforcement. Unfortunately, Boss Black is cautious. He didn't touch the jewelry for half a day. Even the $20 million used to buy the gems, Officer Ho's girlfriend, Wa, had to get it. But this is exactly what Wa wanted. He already has a grudge against the boss. This time, he took the risk to cooperate with the police. He wants to get rid of all the bosses. If he can get another 20 million for nothing, that would be even better. When Inspector Ho saw Wa not coming back from the bank, he felt something bad in his heart, so he thought he'd use the jewelry to get to the boss first. But just then, Wa suddenly appeared in front of us. He said he was holding the real jewelry. Inspector Ho knew that he was trying to pass off a fake gem as a real one, so he identified his own jewelry first, and showed a look of disbelief. Finally, he pretended to be angry and said that Wa had stolen his jewelry. Successfully made the boss think the real jewelry is in Wa's bag, so he grabbed the backpack, but he found only a bowling ball inside. The angry boss smashed the bowling ball with all his might, but he found diamonds all over the place. It turned out that Wa had robbed a finance company before. He also took some diamonds. At this time, The boss was caught by the police. He was taken away by the police for stealing diamonds. And outside the bowling alley, Hua took the sapphire and $20 million in the chaos. He was about to run away. Inspector Ho also found out at the first time. The gems were gone, so he got into Hua's car when he wasn't looking. He asked Hua to take him to the police station. Hua didn't run away after hearing that, because before, he had played the game with Officer Ho twice before, and he managed to escape, so he didn't think he would lose this time. But when he got into the car, Officer Ho pretended to know each other for a while. He wanted to shake hands with Hua. Hua thought it was a hero's gesture of sympathy, but he didn't expect to be handcuffed by the cunning Officer Ho. Officer Ho was speeding up the car. He said that from here to the police station, it only takes 5 minutes. Let's see how you can escape this time. Who knows that just after he said that, Hua spurted out a mouthful of blood. Officer Ho wasn't too surprised when he saw it, because he had investigated. Hua has terminal cancer. He only has 4 weeks left. Everything he did is just to take revenge on the evil forces. He's not a bad guy. That's why he's willing to accompany Hua. He's willing to play this game of cat and mouse with Hua. But Hua is not a man who will admit defeat. He activated the time bomb hidden in the car. It will explode in a minute.
怕了，我不怕，怎么死，死在哪里对我都不重要，最重要的就是不要死在警局里。
Hua fainted when he finished speaking. In the last 10 seconds before the explosion, Inspector Ho got out of the car and smiled, because he knew the bomb was a fake. Hua never hurt anyone, as expected. At the last second, Hua started the car and ran away. He knew it was Officer Ho's intention to let him go, so that he could leave with dignity. At this moment, these two were more like friends. Soon after, Hua donated $20 million to the Cancer Children's Foundation. He donated $20 million to the Children's Cancer Foundation. When he read the news in the newspaper, he also smiled a little. At the end of the film, Officer Ho meets the girl on the bus. The sapphire is on his chest. Officer Ho didn't tell the truth. He just praised the girl and said the necklace was beautiful. She said it was a gift from her boyfriend, but she hasn't seen him since. Officer He reluctantly smiled and turned around and said,
虽然是假的，也假得很像，好好保留吧，说不定他突然出现，我吓你一跳啊！
It's a sour word to comfort a girl. It's also for myself. But he knows, Hua will never appear again. Maybe giving the girl a ray of hope is also the last thing he misses about him.